Battlefield 2042 is a game about a disastrous future where humans have pretty much screwed the pooch on the environment and smaller nations are falling apart, shedding stateless soldiers who are then swept up into these larger proxy wars. What a great time to be alive? But seriously, Battlefield's really just about doing wild things in helicopters, Jeep stuff, crazy gadgets, and having fun. So let's get you caught up on everything you need to know. Hit that subscribe button and give us the old thumbs up. Let's get to it. Specialists. Let's start with the most recent information and honestly the most controversial in the community. At release, 2042 has 10 playable specialist characters, with more coming in post-launch seasons. These specialists replace the older class system, and they fall very loosely under those old categories, like Assault and Engineer. Each sport a unique gadget called a specialty and has a unique trait. Unlike the old class system, loadouts are fully open, meaning players can choose whatever weapon they want, and they can also pick a support item or a rocket launcher, and also bring along a grenade. Many of these support items like ammo crates were previously locked behind classes. Here are the first 10 specialists. Starting with the 2 support characters, we have Maria Falk, dubbed Danger Grandma by the community. Poor lady already got a big nerf in the alpha, so she can't revive players from a distance anymore, but her Surette pistol can still heal at range, or more importantly heal herself. Her trait Combat Surgeon means she revives players off the ground to full health. She also got some recent buffs after the open beta, so her Surette pistol fires more sticky darts that home in on players more easily, and she revives more quickly. Then there's Konstantin Ongol, also known as Angel, who can drop loadout crates that allow players to swap their weapons, as well as pick up armor and ammo. When he revives down players, his trait Trauma Specialist means that he also refills their bonus armor and health. It's speculated this character will be very useful in Hazard Zone. Then there's 3 assault specialists, starting with Webster McKay, who by far had the most used gadget of the open beta, the grappling hook, and sports the nimble trait that allows him to move more quickly than other players while aiming down sights. He can grapple onto way more things than you think, which we covered in our 21 Things Every Battlefield Player Should Know video. Then there's Emma, also known as Sundance, affectionately dubbed the Flying Squirrel by the community. They have the wingsuit trait that lets them glide between objectives and get maximum use out of tornadoes. They're one of the few characters whose trait is probably stronger than their specialty, which is Smart Explosives, a multi-purpose grenade that can even take down helicopters. Then there's Santiago Dozer Espinoza, with his ballistic shield that can be used as a battering ram, something we haven't seen yet, and to tank enemy fire or even reflect those bullets back. To complement his style, Dozer's blast-resistant trait means you can't just back up and handle them with a grenade. Next up, the engineers. Piotr Guskowski, also known as Boris, whose main thing is a sentry gun that automatically spots targets and mildly perturbs them with bullets. At least that's how it worked in the open beta. In order to make the sentry effective, Boris can use his passive trait Sentry Operator, also known as standing next to it. Next, Kimball Irish Graves sports a fortification system, which is a type of deployable cover, and he can use the APS-36 to take down incoming explosive projectiles. His passive trait Veteran means that when he runs over downed enemies, he gets more armor. The 3 recon soldiers are Naveen Rao with his cyber warfare suite that scrambles enemy vehicle electronics, can disable rangers, and trigger some environmental obstacles like raising bollards. His Trojan network trait allows him to hack an enemy and then take them down to reveal other nearby enemies. Wycus Casper Van Dale is the most similar to the traditional recon class in Battlefield and has the 3rd most used specialty of the open beta, which is the recon drone. This drone is handy for spotting enemies, designating targets for lock-on weapons, and disorienting vehicles with an EMP blast. His trait Movement Sensor is very strong and alerts players of any approaching enemies. Then we have Jisoo Paik, probably with the most controversial ability so far because it's basically a wall hack. Paik's EMG X scanner reveals enemies behind cover and then highlights them in red. Her trait Threat Perception also highlights enemies that shoot at her. Maps. So where will you be playing with these specialists? Battlefield 2042 launches with 7 new maps and 6 remastered classic maps that are pulled from 1942, Bad Company 2, and Battlefield 3. New locations have been added to some of these old areas, such as a low tide zone on Valparaiso. That's to accommodate the full 128 players on PC and next-gen consoles. These maps can only do up to 64 players on Xbox One and PlayStation 4. The new maps are some of the biggest in Battlefield history. Breakaway, for example, is 5.9 square kilometers. That's significantly larger than El Alamein, a huge map from Battlefield 1942. Maps will have random extreme weather events show up, like tornadoes that can lift and toss players and vehicles as they go. Many of the maps will have set-piece events occur, such as Orbital with its rocket launch, Hourglass with its sandstorm, and Discarded, which hides a nuclear submarine inside the hull of a behemoth ship. Overall destruction seems to be on par with Battlefield 3, meaning you can blow out the walls of smaller buildings, but we haven't seen any fully collapsible structures yet, and most larger buildings can't be destroyed. Campaign. Battlefield 2042 will not have a campaign, but it will tell a story through its website, seasons, cinematics, in-game environmental storytelling such as radios, and in-game voice lines. An example of this is how Irish was featured in the Exodus short film. He's played by the talented Michael K. Williams, who sadly passed away this year. His story gave us both a very personal and larger overarching plot that players can engage with or ignore. High level, the United States and Russia are on the brink of war, and there's a secret piece of information floating around out there that would get the conflict started. The two main characters, Irish and Oz, are both non-patriated people who are people with no citizenship or country. They both want to help the NOPAT community, but in vastly different and opposing ways. Irish wants to hide this information to stop an all-out war because he hopes major countries will come to accept non-patriated people and fears many of them would die in a full conflict, including his own non-patriated son. Oz, on the other hand, seeks to release the information, intending to ignite a major war because he feels NOPATs will be forgotten and left behind to rot unless they're needed to fight. The Exodus trailer ends with a call to action for players to go to the Doha map and participate in the plot, somehow. Modes. So what does all this mean? What will you actually be doing? Battlefield 2042 sports 3 modes: All-Out Warfare, Hazard Zone, and Portal. Player counts do vary in some of these modes, but as covered before, PC and next-gen consoles can go up to 128 players, and Xbox One and PS4 are limited to 64. There are bots that will fill into the larger matches if needed, and players can play against just bots if they want to practice. All-Out Warfare is the main Battlefield experience and consists of Conquest and Breakthrough. Conquest sees players fighting over flags grouped into sectors and will involve both fast and slow-paced moments. One of the bigger changes to Conquest is just how spread apart sectors can be on some of the maps, meaning enemies can be fully pushed out of an area, allowing a quiet moment where the winning team has some time to regroup. Breakthrough divides teams into attackers and defenders, where attackers capture sectors and push back the front line. This mode is designed for constant engagement. Hazard Zone is the more intimate, high-stakes squad-based mode and takes place on the 7 new maps of the game. Unlike All-Out Warfare's 128 player count, Hazard Zone only sports 32, or 8 teams of 4. This is also the only mode that prevents teams from choosing duplicate specialists. The goal is to locate data drives from satellites that fall across the map, and then extract them to waiting aircraft. Those aircraft only show up twice a match and at randomized locations. The longer players survive, the greater the rewards, and also the greater the risk. Players only have 1 life, but they can be brought back by their team using the reinforcement Uplinks, or purchased back with the in-game currency called Dark Market Credits. This currency is earned each round and used in-game or in preparation phases of the following round to buy advantages called tactical upgrades. It also sounds like some areas of the map will be guarded by occupying forces, which means player versus environment. Finally, there's Portal, which is more of a content creation tool than anything else. Portal pulls armies, weapons, vehicles, and maps from several older Battlefield titles, and then lets players fight them in their own custom matches. These can be made very simple by just locking out certain guns and attachments and vehicles, or they can be made very deep using a logic editor. The only limitation is that players can't mix armies on a single team, and apparently they can't make their own battle royale game, at least not on a big map. Progress will carry over from Portal to the other game modes. However, DICE has said they put some safeguards in place to prevent players from grinding XP in unfair ways. Portal will also allow players to go back and play some older maps with features they never had before, like 1942's El Alamein with enhanced visuals, destruction, and 128 players. To keep things a bit more organized, DICE will feature a rotating series of games that are built by the community. And personally, I'm just looking forward to original Bad Company 2 maps, largely untouched except for 128 players. New gameplay mechanics. The two biggest changes to gameplay in Battlefield are the call-in tablet and the plus system. Starting with the plus system. For the first time in Battlefield, you can swap weapon attachments in real time. This is incredibly versatile, letting players do things like change scopes to engage at different ranges, and even swap ammo types to impact weapon handling and damage output. Then there's the call-in tablet, used in both All-Out Warfare and Hazard Zone. This mechanic allows players to airdrop in vehicles and attack robot dogs in any open area of the map, which is ideal given the map size, so players don't get stranded. In Hazard Zone, the tablet is used to bring squad mates back to life after you collect reinforcement uplinks. Battlefield 2042 has 4 content seasons planned, each lasting about 3 months, and there will be a battle pass. Each season will add new specialists and push the overarching narrative forward. There will be a free and paid for battle pass that will include microtransactions. The game has cross progression and cross purchase, so you can take your stuff to different platforms, minus a few exclusive items. We've already caught a glimpse of some of the cosmetics that can be earned or purchased, and they come in common, rare, epic, and legendary versions. Battlefield 2042 has an early access release on November 12th and a general release with a day one patch on November 19th. We're here to cover it all, including a review, things you might not know, and wild modes you come up with in Portal. So head on over to GameSpot's YouTube page. Thanks for watching.